Hi, Alan here, and let me start with me. Um, those of you who know me know that I've been on the road now. It's hard to believe, almost 3 years. That's right. I've been living in an RV, traveling across the country, living primarily in the Intermountain West, loving it. I'm in rural Wyoming right now. There's a lake outside my window. It's a little windy, otherwise I'd be sitting outside making this video. And it's beautiful. It's everything rural America is, and that America, I believe, as a nation was for the last 200 years. And coming from the New York City area, and that's how I always refer to it. I mean, I lived 14 clicks west of Manhattan, could get into lower Manhattan in 21 minutes. That was my record. And I love New York City. There's a guitar player, I'll give you his name, David Ippolito. He's got a website, thatguitarman.com, I think it is. And he used to play, maybe still does, along the pond, not far from the Dakota, in Midtown, upper Midtown Manhattan, on Saturday afternoons or Sunday afternoons, one or the other. And he had a song about New York City, and I'll try to link to it if I can find it somewhere online. It's a love song about Manhattan, about New York. It's an amazing town. So last night, and I'm recording this on the 24th of October, last night when I got the news that there was an idiot doctor, and I'm going to call him an idiot, because, and I'll tell you why. There was an idiot doctor that came down with Ebola, and within hours before or after, there was a terrorist attack, and I'll call it that, by insane Islamic nut jobs. That's probably the best description. One, in that case, who was wielding a hatchet, I believe it was in Queensboro. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the fact that we as a society are not demanding of the powers that be, I'll be very politically correct and I won't say what's really on my mind, but that we're not demanding of these SOBs certain common sense things. This doctor, who was apparently one of the individuals who was caring for Ebola victims in West Africa, God bless him, comes back, knows that there's a reasonable risk, and apparently he came back, I guess it was on the 17th, maybe about 6 days before he became symptomatic, which means he flew. He certainly was harboring the virus. Whether or not he's contagious, the jury's still out on that. If you're not symptomatic, it's not a guarantee that you're not contagious. He came back to New York City and said he did a self-imposed isolation. He's got a hell of a definition of isolation, along with that idiot governor, Cuomo. God forbid that guy gets a higher office ever than he has now, and how New Yorkers could ever elect him now or again. He gets on the media along with the doctor, not together, but in separate occasions, and says, yeah, he did a self-imposed isolation. Do you call riding the A train, the New York City subway, isolation? Riding in a taxi, having dinner at a restaurant, going bowling? All of these activities just before he got admitted to the hospital. So think about now the cluster, in New York, where you've got to be wondering, if you rode the A train, how many people ride the A train in a day? Hundreds of thousands? Millions? I don't know, but it's a ridiculously high number. How many people were needlessly exposed to Ebola over that kind of self-centered arrogance exhibited by this doctor? Unbelievable to me that could be done, and it might be repeated over and over and over again elsewhere in this country. Why? Because we still have open flights. And for those doctors and nurses and medical workers that are caring for people in Africa, why are they not automatically placed in a quarantine on Ellis Island or something, or maybe even back in Africa, before they're allowed on a plane to come back here. And of course, the plane shouldn't have other people on it if that plane has a connecting flight in Europe or something. We've got to use basic isolation techniques that we understood in the 19th century. It's one of the main reasons we had Ellis Island. It's one of the main reasons we had other places in the country. I did a post the other day on my RV Across America site about a site where Typhoid Mary used to live that's actually just off of the island of the Bronx, that's now wasting away, and they want to turn it into a park. It's got buildings that are over a century old. Why are we not using those places to house people? I don't care. Turn it into a luxury vacation. Doesn't matter. But keep them there for 42 days, because that's what the World Health Organization is now saying. I'm worked up over it because the owner of this restaurant, I wouldn't be surprised if his business fails. Who's going to go there once the name comes out? And how about the bowling alley, which had to be closed? And who paid for the complete cleaning of that bowling alley? And was that bowling alley completely clean? And again, the idiot governor and the idiot mayor of New York come out and say, well, yeah, our EMS, they've been well trained. Really? Is that why there's now a photograph of the contaminated garments being thrown out in the regular trash in Manhattan? Is that how the top training goes? And where does the governor of New York come off saying that New York has 8 centers for Ebola, when it's my understanding, and folks, please check my statistics on any of this, but it's my understanding that there are 11 level 4 contaminant beds in the entire nation. The entire nation has 11 beds that can house a contaminant or a contagion like Ebola. And I can guarantee you that those 11 beds are scattered amongst, I think it's 4 different institutions, and I don't think that more than one, if one, is located within the entire state of New York. So what is it that makes Andrew Cuomo and the nut job that runs New York City claim that, well, Bellevue is prepared? Really? Have you ever been to or by Bellevue? I've been by it. I know the density of population. I know what can happen if one of those nurses gets sick and then spreads it to other people in their neighborhood, whether it's Chelsea or whether they live in the Village or in Chinatown or Little Italy. I mean, these are all neighborhoods that are within 1 square mile of Bellevue. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that this can go on. And then the other incident where New York's finest are attacked by an axe-wielding nut job, and then they go to his Facebook page and find all kinds of stuff that's saying jihad and revolution in America and all that. You know, they want to use all the data that Facebook collects. Why not use some of that data to identify who we should be concerned about? And if they're not a U.S. citizen, why are they still here? Why are these flights coming here from West Africa? We got a president that loves to sign executive orders. Why not use his pen and his phone for something useful this time and actually stop the flights from West Africa? And while you're at it, why not stop and shut down the southern border so that we don't have an open flow of God knows what into this country? We have this enterovirus 68 floating around the country, and it's killed a bunch of kids, and that hasn't made big headlines, mostly because of Ebola and all the other nonsense going on in this country. What is the deal here? What does it take for some common sense actions and for some congressmen and for some senators? You know, I called my congressman this morning and left a message with some idiot page for her, and I called one of my senators. The other one's a Democrat. I figured, I'm not into idiot speak, so how could I call him? But I called the Republican from my state, and I tried to have an intelligent discussion with the page. Well, it didn't go all that well either. What is the deal here? Why do we not have statesmen standing up and demanding of our government to do these things, to make these changes, to effect these changes so that we, the people, we, the citizens of the United States, are safe? I would love nothing more as a full-time traveler to be able to tell you about some of the wonderful places I've been and all the amazing things I'm seeing and the amazing people I'm meeting. Instead, I find my mind focused on this kind of nonsense because we have literally a significant percentage of the population at risk. Even in rural areas like this, I mean, I'm only 20 miles away from a truck stop on Interstate 80 at the moment, and if I went up to have lunch at one of the truck stops the way I did the other day when I was in a little town called Rock Springs, don't think it didn't occur to me that there are truckers who are all over this country and could pick up something in one place and carry it somewhere else. How long before a lot of Americans start thinking that way, and there goes commerce in this country because people will stop going out? What is the deal? What does it take? You know, I recorded some additional thoughts in writing below this video. I wanted to share them with you. Hopefully I'll have more videos coming up soon that are maybe on a slightly more upbeat note. But you know, thank God we still live in a country with a constitution. Thank God we still have a Bill of Rights that allows us to speak our minds, hopefully without repercussions, hopefully without retribution from the powers that be, but allow us to share with each other our thoughts. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. And if this resonates with you or if it doesn't resonate with you, leave a note at the bottom. There's a reply area below. I'd love to hear from you and hear what your thoughts are about this. But for me, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted when I listen to the authorities in New York State claim that they've got a handle on this and that they're not going to make some of the same mistakes that were made in Dallas. And frankly, one of the best advices I've heard is that there ought to be Ebola centers. And I think from what I've heard on talk radio, there are 4 of them. And that's where these people ought to be sent to. And that way you don't have people who are using our hospitals for other reasons. You know, our ERs, I understand we have people waiting up to 12 hours in an ER, and they're there for all kinds of reasons, and it's not Ebola in most cases, if not all cases. And somebody comes in with Ebola, how many of them are going to be exposed to this, not to mention the doctors and the nurses, until the person is identified as such? And are these people sitting around for hours before they're attended to? And how did they get there? And what about our EMS personnel? And what about the ambulances? Yeah, it goes on and on and on. If my thoughts have resonated, hopefully it's resonated you to a point where you'll pick up the phone and call or go on Facebook and contact your senator and your congressman. If you don't know who they are, Google it. It's easy. It's easy to find out who they are. Let them know what your thoughts are. Let's melt down the phone lines again, and let's fill up their email boxes, and let's fill up their Facebook pages with our concerns so that we can affect common sense changes. Stop the flights, shore up the borders. What does it take for us to do these things as a nation? Well, that's all I've got to say. You want to see what my thoughts are and what I'm doing in order to address some of the concerns that I have and some of the things that I'm personally doing to shore up my health? Take a look at my post below. This is not commercial. Yeah, there are some things there that I'll profit from if you turn around and buy them, but you know what? We all need them. Thank you. Have a great day.